Now, just recently, the House of Representatives passed a bill to repair and update the nation's water infrastructure. Now, it goes through and improves things like ports. It reduces storm damage and flood risk, which is quite important now that we have the whole issue of climate change we're going to have to be dealing with. It also repairs dams and does environmental restoration, just among a myriad of other things. Now, the bill dedicates $8.3 billion to these projects. But is that enough to fix our infrastructure? I'll get to that later. But first, according to Think Progress, the House bill undershot the Senate bill by $4 billion. So the Senate originally wanted to spend $12 billion on our infrastructure, on just our water infrastructure. And the House, of course, we all know the House is all about cutting pretty much everything and spending as little as they can. Some would think that or some would actually say that the House might be a little cheap. I don't know if you'd agree with that, but I think they're quite cheap. But it's actually quite amazing that they passed this thing at all. Now, why do I say that? Now, for the last 3 years, the House actually had a self-imposed earmark ban. No earmarks, no pork, no infrastructure spending for your district, none whatsoever. Ixnay, cutting the spending, cutting the fat. But turns out a lot of this so-called fat went to our nation's water infrastructure. So how did they get around this? Well, I think Progress writes, Congress circumvented the ban this time by shifting the responsibility to the Army Corps of Engineers to recommend projects. Now, the engineers identified 23 projects to improve shipping channels, flood prevention, and environmental restoration. Okay, so they basically outsourced their job to the Army Corps of Engineers. That's amazing. They can't even do that job. So many of the newly approved projects will bolster protections against floods and storms, like last year's Superstorm Sandy. Superstorm Sandy. I suppose all this is good. I mean, infrastructure spending, fantastic. But to get back to the question of, is this enough spending? No. According to the EPA, they estimate that water infrastructure spending between 2000 and 2019 will fall short by $263 billion. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for sure. Remember, this bill for water infrastructure alone was $8.3 billion. That's the House's version. The Senate version was just a paltry $12 billion. We need $263 billion to fix our water infrastructure between 2000 and 2019. So for the next 7 years. We need a lot of money. Now, this bill doesn't even address any of the piping. And we have water shortages going on in places like California and New Mexico and Texas. I think we've done some stories on that, on how Texas doesn't have enough water. Okay, mainly because they're selling their wells for fracking, but they didn't have a lot of water to begin with.
New Mexico also is doing that, selling their drinking water to fracking companies.
Exactly. And it's kind of insane because they didn't have really a whole lot of water to begin with. Because it's
right.
New Mexico and Texas. You're literally pretty much in the desert here. Not only that, but our infrastructure has gotten so bad that the American Society of Civil Engineers has actually rated America's total infrastructure with a grade of D+. To kind of break it down further, the ASCE's 2000 report card for America's infrastructure graded the nation's ports a C, average, inland waterways a D-, dams got a D for dam, and levees got a D-. If I got these grades in school, it would have, my principal would have needed to talk to my parents. That would not fly. Okay? Now, get this. In this bill, there were also new streamlined regulations. Get this. In both the Senate and the House versions, that reduce the Army Corps of Engineers' abilities to oversee and track projects. Yes, let's just have them regulate themselves, these contracts. Because
I'm
that's a
sorry.
good idea. And look, I'm not going to just beat up on the House. The Senate passed this too. Come on,
Right.
Senate Democrats. Get your shit together. Seriously. These contractors should not be able to regulate themselves and police themselves. That's how you get shitty projects. I don't know, like the levees that broke during Hurricane Katrina?
Yeah, I don't know who even ever came up with the idea of self-policing. I mean, what an asinine idea. I mean, it's like the honor system in college.
Yeah, that never works. Somebody always ends up stealing your keys or your CDs. It doesn't work. Hey, thanks for watching this video. Please leave a comment below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button and share with your friends. If you want to see more, go to our channel at youtube.com/TYTNation. And if you really want to support the show, support this channel, go to our fundraising campaign at www.patreon.com/TYTNation. The website is in the description below. Thank you guys, and keep watching.